Hello all, so we're talking about early 20th century and physical education today. And so this is our third part in chapter 4. So here we go. The early 20th century marked a significant period of growth and development for both physical education and sport. Physical education changed its focus from a narrow emphasis on systems of gymnastics, exercise regimes, and calisthenics to a broader focus that encompassed games, sports, aquatics, dance, and outdoor activities. The new physical education developed with emphasized a program of activities and the contribution of physical education to the total education of the individual. Physical education leaders debated whether physical education should emphasize education of the physical or education through the physical. Physical education teacher training programs grew in number, and graduate degrees in physical education began to be awarded with greater frequency. Sport became increasingly organized during this period of time and grew tremendously in popularity. Extensive programs were established in schools and universities, and recreation programs flourished. Intercollegiate athletics were brought under more rigid academic control, and intramurals became more popular as the emphasis on sports for all gained momentum. Also during this period of time, physical education began to change in scope. At the forefront of this change was Thomas Denison Wood, who advocated the development of a new program of physical education that would enhance the development of the whole individual through participation in play, games, sports, and outdoor activities. Robert Trait McKenzie was a physician, physical educator, and noted artist sculptor, was on the faculty of McGill University in Canada from 1891 to 1904 and the University of Pennsylvania from 1904 to 1931. McKenzie worked to help develop physical education programs for individuals with disability. Also during that frame time, many advances in physical education occurred during the 20s that had a profound influence on physical education for decades to come. The new physical education began to take shape during this period and was influenced by the leading progressive education theorists of the time, including John Dewey. Clark Hetherington's philosophy of physical education was influenced by Wood's beliefs and his natural gymnastics approach. In 1910, Clark Hetherington articulated the 4 objectives of physical education as organic development or fitness, psychomotor development, skill, character development, which is more of the social, and intellectual development, the mental. Hetherington, like Wood, believed that physical education had a broader purpose than the development of the physical aspects of the individual, which was the popular approach of the times. Hetherington is often credited with inventing the phrase new physical education to describe the changing emphasis of the field that was initially described by Wood. Rosalind Cassidy is another philosopher and leader of the period of time, was an advocate of education through the physical, a philosophy that guides the development of physical education programs that contribute to the development of the whole person. While Jesse Firing Williams and Jay Nash also advocated for education through the physical, Williams set forth beliefs based on the unity of the mind and the body that social responsibility and moral values can be developed through physical education, and that athletics play a vital role in creating socially responsive citizens. Nash strongly believed in the value of recreation and thought that through experiences such as camping, individuals would gain both an appreciation of nature and an understanding of the principles of democracy. In his view, the physical education curriculum should be designed to prepare students to use their leisure time in a worthy manner. One of the leaders of this time was Charles McLoy. He advocated education of the physical, espousing the belief that school physical education's unique contribution to the education of the individual is organic and psychomotor development. According to McLoy, school physical education programs should focus their efforts on promoting fitness and teaching sports skills. Furthermore, McCloy recognized the importance of physical educators being able to document results and measure progress using scientific data. Interscholastic athletic programs continued to grow and in some situations dominated physical education programs and created many educational problems. The National Association of Intercollegiate Basketball was established in 1940 for the purpose of providing an association for the smaller colleges. It changed its name in 1952 to the National Association of Intercollegiate Athletics, or NAIA. In 1937, representatives of the junior colleges of California met for the purpose of forming the National Junior College Athletic Association. Intramural athletics continue to grow in colleges and universities. Women's Athletic Association also increased in number. The principles that guided such programs were established largely during the early years by the National Section of Women's Athletics. World War I started in 1914, and the United States entry in 1918 had a critical impact on the nation and education. The Selective Service of 1917 called to service all men between the ages of 18 and 25. Social services were also at work during this period. The emancipation of women was furthered by passage of the 19th Amendment. Women also began to show interest in sport and physical education, as well as in other fields formerly considered to be off limits. During World War I, many physical educators such as Dudley Sargent, Luther Gulick, and R. Tate McKenzie contributed their services to the armed forces. Women physical educators were also active in conditioning programs in communities and industries at home. When the war ended, the public had an opportunity to study the medical examiner's report for the men who had been called to military duty. 1/3 of the men were found physically unfit for armed services, and many more were physically inept. Many advances in physical education occurred during the 1920s that had a profound influence on physical education for decades to come. The new physical education began to take shape during this period, influenced by the leading progressive education theorists of the time, including John Dewey. And so there was a move away from formal systems toward development of physical education programs that would contribute to the development of the whole person. And the new physical education emphasized contribution to the total development, with education through the physical versus education of the physical. There was also called for reform of collegiate athletics due to the increasing professionalism and public entertainment and commercialization. As well, women's programs increased staff, activities, required participation, and facilities. In the Depression years, 1930 to 1939, the 1929 stock market crash ushered in the Great Depression, which affected education. Unemployment and poverty reigned. Health and physical education had a difficult time surviving in many communities. During the period of economic depression in the United States, many gains achieved by physical education in the schools of the nation were lost. Budgets were cut back, and programs in many cases were either dropped or downgraded. Between 1932 and 1934, an estimated 40% of the physical education programs were dropped completely. Legislative moves were made in several states, such as Illinois and California, to do away with the physical education requirement. Another development during the Depression years was that physical educators became more involved in recreation programs in the agencies and projects concerned with unemployed people. The National Association, recognizing the increased interest in recreation, voted to change its title to include the word recreation. The American Association for Health, Physical Education, and Recreation. One of the leaders of this time was Charles McCloy. He advocated the education. During the middle of the 20th century, physical education and sport programs grew, in part due to World War II. Selective service examinations of drafted men indicated that they were not in sound condition. This helped stimulate the development of physical training programs in branches of the armed forces, and President Franklin Roosevelt appointed John P. Kelly as the National Director of Physical Training. The importance of fitness and its role in the national defense were highlighted by the establishment of a division of physical fitness within the United States Office of Defense, Health, and Welfare Services. The war years had their impact on physical education programs in schools and colleges. At all levels, there was an emphasis on more formalized conditioning programs, with the goal of improving the fitness of children and youth. Girls and women, as well as boys and men, were involved in their programs. Another significant event occurred in December 1953 when the Journal of Health, Physical Education, and Recreation published an article entitled Muscular Fitness and Health. The article reported the results of the Krause-Weber minimal muscular fitness tests given to European and American children. Nearly 60% of the American children had failed, compared to only 9% of the European children. The fitness test primarily measured flexibility and abdominal strength. Nevertheless, the condition of the American children was cause for concern. This concern eventually led President Eisenhower to establish the President's Council on Youth Fitness, the forerunner to the current President's Council on Fitness, Sports, and Nutrition. A significant teacher shortage during and following the war led to an increase in professional preparation programs in colleges and universities. Early leaders in physical education were physicians, not physical educators. As the number of professional preparation programs in physical education grew, physical educators assumed many of the leadership roles. In 1954, a group of 11 physicians founded the Federation of Sports Medicine, which later became the American College of Sports Medicine. As sports programs expanded and participation increased, qualified individuals were needed to treat injured athletes and to design programs to prevent injuries. Physical educators, coaches, and other individuals stepped forward to fulfill these responsibilities, working as athletic trainers. In 1950, the National Athletic Trainers Association, or NATA, was founded. Promoting participation of girls and women in competitive sports at both the high school and college levels was the result of several events during this time. In 1964, the first National Institute on Girls' Sports was held, with the conference participants discussing ways to encourage more girls and women to participate in sport. The Division for Girls and Women's Sports, or DGWS, of AFERD played an important role in developing guidelines for girls and women's participation. Another effort included becoming involved in the Olympic development movement as a means to promote more opportunities. These and many others, as well as the societal changes of those times, were all steps that led to a movement to increase opportunities in competitive sports by girls and women. Another significant development during this time was the increased emphasis placed on including sports within the physical education curriculum that could be played throughout a person's lifetime for enjoyment and fitness. The Lifetime Sports Foundation, begun in 1965, was instrumental in providing leadership in this area. School and college physical education programs changed to include a greater emphasis on teaching activities such as bowling, tennis, golf, and badminton. And that is all for today. We will be continuing in part 4, where we're going to be looking more at significant recent developments. I look forward to talking with you again soon. Take care. Have a great day.